We're on. Hi, welcome to the Foxborough School Committee FY27 budget hearing. Anyone like to make a motion? We will open up this meeting.
I make a motion to open the FY27 public budget hearing.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All right, all in favor? Great. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded by Foxboro Cable Access. All right, we're going to start off. We're going to give this to Karen Sheridan, our business administrator, or Dr. Burtis. I don't know who would like to start.
We'll kind of go back and forth. She does have the bulk of this, but I'll give an introduction. So this is going to be quite redundant for the 5 of you. You've been through this through subcommittees, a couple of you, multiple times, as well as 2 other school committee meetings. So the purpose of the public hearing is really for the public because it is redundant for you. So we will go through the presentation. It's this pretty much the same presentation that you've seen before, so we will go through more quickly. But we'll certainly, if you have questions now that we are in a different place than we were when it was first presented, we can stop for those.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And if the public has a question, do they just raise their hand?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yes, and then they would come up to the guest table
Okay.
for that. So as far as the FY27 preliminary budget, it is the budget that was presented for the first time here when we look at the timeline to you back in December, but this process started back in October. It started with town, with the pre-budget process, and then continuing meetings with them as we rolled into budget subcommittees with school committee, and then the school committee presentation in December, and then again in January. And this timeline really shows the multiple points within the budget process. So there's many layers that are here before we ever get to this evening, as well as get to AdCom meetings in the more towards March, and then towards town meeting in May, an annual town meeting, which will be May the 11th. The budget process, it is a process that is very thorough with all of our administrators, looking at trends, patterns, looking at our assessment data, looking at our classes, looking at class sizes, looking at any of the shifts in enrollment patterns, shifts in changing needs. And so that analysis is then taken into account as we collaborate together to look at what those needs are and the impact it has on the budget. It is in line with our strategy when we think for our plan for success that was at our last school committee meeting. And then it is focused on our goals, which are outlined in that plan for success. So overall, what was stated before, we've seen elementary increasing in numbers. We've seen the high school decreasing when we think about it as an example with enrollment. We've also seen impacts to special education. That continues. It continued even today with more move-in students when we look particularly at our specialized programs and meeting the complexity and changing needs of our students. So when we do have students that move out, those that move in, it might not be the exact same when we think about needs, is my point. As far as the budget message, what really forms and shapes our budget overall, it is to those shifting student populations, focuses on that. But importantly, philosophically, it is consistent with our historical financial approach. And that is we go line by line, we look at every particular cost center in order to build the budget. It is also maintaining reasonable class sizes. It is preserving our current programs and services for our students, the budget that is recommended here, and it continues to move our district initiatives forward the best that we can, although we're not able to put within the budget all of the things that would really drive all those initiatives forward, as we'll get to in a later slide. And then when we look at the budget overall, it is truly dedicated to students, as the largest part of the budget is based on instructional services. I will not take much time here for the plan for success, as we had this as a big agenda item at the last meeting, but this is what drives what we do. And so this is our mission, our core values, and what our areas are for our students. And that plan, that 5-year plan, is integral to our budget process. At the meeting in December, and then at the through budget subcommittee meetings, as well as the first meeting in January, we've talked about 3 different proposed budgets. That first proposal, which was one that had the exact same full-time equivalency, FTE, of staff that was in the previous year's budget was a 3.22%. It is a budget within the percentage that the town was asking us to do, but they also asked us to do level service. What we would say is proposal 2, as we discussed even at the last meeting, is truly level service for us. It is the number of FTE staff, which is 3.5 EAs, educational assistants, over the last year's budget, as well as one special education teacher when we look at additions that are really specific to changing student needs. We've talked about that with our specialized programs as an example. So although we're a bottom line budget and we have movements and shifts, overall you see in this proposal number 2, which is what the recommended budget is for you this evening during our regular school committee meeting, with a 3.68% increase. And that is level service, and being that it is the existing number of staff that we currently have to date. The third proposal, which would have been a 3.98% increase, which although it is needed, that was the addition of 2 counselors, one for the middle school and one that would have been shared between the Igo Elementary and the Taylor Elementary, is not in this budget. It's not because it is not needed, it is, but in order to be level service, and as we had discussed at the last meeting, proposal 2 would be within that level service, meeting our current existing staffing that we have today.
Okay, so as we said at the beginning, this is the public hearing, so it is very important for the public to gather enough facts and data to ensure that they can make an informed decision when they get to town meeting. As Amy indicated, it's going to be a little redundant for you, but I'm going to have a test at the end of it, so be prepared. No, I'm only kidding. So on slide number 8 here, the foundation budget and Chapter 70 formula. So the Chapter 70 formula, we're back on slide 8. The Chapter 70 formula is a program for ensuring adequate and equitable educational funding. The formula establishes minimum spending requirements for the budget, for the foundation budget, and also minimum requirements for each municipality's share of the school's costs. So that's the local contribution. The formula reviews property values. It reviews their residents' income to determine how much of the foundation budget should be funded from your local property taxes. And each district must spend the sum of the district's contribution and its Chapter 70 aid each year. And this is referred to as the district's net school spending requirement. So go to the next slide. So here, this is how the state determines Foxborough's Chapter 70 aid. So the foundation budget, again, is based on the property tax and wealth of the town. And then you'll see at the top on FY26, the state formula determines the foundation budget. And FY26 is $37,172,002. They also determine what the district's contribution would be. So they subtract away the district contribution, which is $29,764,062. Then they come up with the foundation aid from this formula. However, there's a hold harmless clause in the Chapter 70 that ensures that districts do not receive less state aid than the previous year. So this provision is crucial for maintaining school operations, and it gives a minimum aid for the district. We are considered a minimum aid district. And important to note that with a minimum aid district, you would get the minimum aid per pupil. So what they do is the previous year, you got Chapter 78 of $9,695,632. Because you're held harmless, you get minimum aid of $150 per pupil, and then you multiply that times the number of pupils that you have in FY26, which is 2,580, and you get your total minimum aid of $387. You add the Foxborough minimum aid to the previous year, Chapter 70 aid, and that's how they come up with your next year's Chapter 70 aid. So you don't have the chance that it's going to go down because of this hold harmless clause, which is really important for a lot of the districts that are in this minimum aid district. Within the foundation formula, there are enrollment categories that are intended to reflect additional resources needed to educate students with disabilities, English learners, and low-income students. So here you see a chart of the high needs population in Foxborough versus the average of the state. And you'll see Foxborough is the blue and the state being the gray. So the reason that this slide is important is because for Foxborough to move from a minimum aid district, you would have to have some type of pretty drastic, a significant change in your student population in order to move you from a minimum aid district. And if you looked at your high needs population, and also you look at your special ed and your EL population, the data does not show that you're going to see that significant increase. So I would not see that changing in the near future, but it certainly is something that you should review each year just to see how your district is doing. So if you start to get an influx of EL students, a lot more special ed students, then you may see this change. And with that change, you would move up to a different level, which would increase your Chapter 70 aid. Okay?
But you're always a year behind.
You're always a year behind because they look at the enrollment. I believe it's in the October. So they're looking at October so that you won't be able to see those changes till the following year. Okay? So right now, they're looking at what your enrollment was pretty much last year to get your Chapter 70 aid for this year. The next slide shows a history of your Chapter 70 aid and your required net school spending and your actual net school spending. As you can see from this chart, the Chapter 70 aid pretty much there's no change. You see that in the yellow. The required net school spending is the lighter grayish blue color. And then you see the actual net school spending, which is kind of the navy color. So you can see it increasing, but you see that your Chapter 78 is pretty much, boom, just going straight in a line. And that's what happens a lot with minimum aid districts. All right. For 12, net school spending. So net school spending requirement, the Commonwealth School Finance Statute, Chapter 70, also establishes the annual net school spending requirement for each Massachusetts school district. And failure to comply with this may result in non-approval of your municipal's tax rate, enforcement action by the Attorney General, a loss of state aid. So you never want to get that close because then you have a chance of losing your state aid. Most districts spend in excess of the net school spending requirement, so it's a good practice to review your net school spending as you're comparing to other districts, how you're comparing with the state. Because if you hear people who say, well, our district is above net school spending, pretty much everybody's above net school spending. If you're below net school spending, your school's in trouble. You can hear that in the news if you're below net school spending. On slide 13, this is where we're comparing other districts, our district to other towns. And that's really important to review that when you're looking at your budget. You want to make sure that you're comparable to other towns. And mostly, not only your surrounding towns, but like towns. So here you see in the chart, Foxborough is in the navy blue. So we're not the lowest, we're not the highest, but we're kind of in the middle. All right. I put Wellesley on this slide, and that's the green. The reason I put Wellesley on this slide is just to show you that certain towns are not like your town. So if you look at Wellesley, Foxborough is never going to have that high in net school spending. You really have to, when you're comparing yourself to other towns, you have to kind of make sure you're comparing to something that's similar to your own town. So Foxborough just cannot spend the amount that Wellesley spends for their school district. On slide 14, so here you see the net school spending, the history of Foxborough and net school spending. And at the financial summit, there is a review of the amount of money Foxborough is over in net school spending requirements. The amounts fluctuate going up. You see in the green. You see it starts to go up, and then it starts to go down, and then it starts to go up again, and then it starts to go down, and then it's down. But what I think it's important to see that percentage over the net school spending. So when you look at these graphs, you can see that Foxborough's net school spending is declining. So while you see the state's determined local contribution continues to increase, Foxborough's is starting to go downwards. So you really want to make sure you monitor that each year because you certainly don't want to see yourself going down, down, down. So a lot of these graphs and charts are more to make sure that when you're building your budget, you're aware of where you are. And they're really important to see that, because you certainly don't want to start going down and really getting behind for your district. For slide 15, per pupil expenditure is also a comparative that is used to measure spending in districts. Here you see Foxborough in blue, and you see the state in the gray. And Foxborough in the past years, if you see in the navy, it was higher than the state average, so it was started to go up, and then it started to go down a little. But then when you look in FY24, we started to drop below the state average in this per pupil expenditure. Again, charts that you really want to review each year to make sure that you don't start to lose ground. And right here on this one, we are down a little on the per pupil expenditure. When we review the town appropriated budget history, the percentage increase that the town of Foxborough has received, you can see during the FY17, you were up at a high 3.90% that you got for your appropriated budget. Then you went to 3.4. There were some other years that were in the twos. You got FY21 that was up 3.82. You've got the COVID years where that was like the 21, 22, 23, where it was a little lower. But you also had a lot of state and federal funding during those years. So that is not unusual for those years to happen because of that. Then and also in 24 and 25 and still in 26, you do had some of the newcomers funds that also were able to be used for the district. However, those newcomers funds, this is the, we have a little bit left for next year, but that's it. We're going to be done with the newcomers money, so they're not in our back pocket to use anymore. That's why when you're funding in your outside resources starts to dwindle a little, it makes it more difficult for your general fund budget because you don't have those other pockets to go to. There you can see the COVID years. For slide 17, at the Financial Summit, there's also discussions around the options for the FY27 budget. And I really feel it's important to review the difference between level funded budget and level service budget and percentage increase budget. So level service budget allows for financial budget increases from previous years in order to maintain all your programs. So your transportation, your special ed out of district tuition, all these increases may happen during that year, but those continue to be your level service for your district. So that's why when you see the superintendent's recommendation for the budget, it is a little higher in your increase than they anticipated us to be at, they wanted us to be at. But in order to be at level service and keep the service that we had in FY26, sometimes it's not that easy to get at a percentage increase limit. So a percentage increase limit would be, they set you at, you can go no higher than 3%. And then in some of those cases, you may have to make some cuts depending on how your budget is. A level funded budget, that would be that they want you to remain at the same level of funding that you had the previous year. There was no increases. Often very, very difficult budget to do. The level service is usually the best approach, unless, of course, you can get a high percentage increase limit. But the level service budget is the one that we feel we're coming forward with for the superintendent's budget tonight. Again, for this slide here, we're showing the three proposals. The one in the middle, which is proposal 2, is the recommendation. The district feels this is level service, although it does have a little bit of an increase. But the increase was due to enrollment and student needs. So the proposal number 1 was just the full-time equivalencies were the same, but in level 1 you probably would have had some layoffs and your class sizes might have increased. So with the proposal number 2, you keep the same staff that you have in FY26. You're able to meet the enrollment needs and the student services needs with this increase of 3.68.
This next slide here is just showing some examples of being able to respond to the changing enrollment and needs of the district here. So when we've had the high school enrollment decrease over time, we've made reductions there as well. Some of those examples, reducing an English teacher this year. In the budget for next year, it's reducing a math teacher. We've reduced an educational assistant in the library media center, 0.6 in social studies, 0.6 in world language. At the middle school, reductions again in the media center and the library educational assistant, reducing a reading teacher. So when we look at full-time equivalencies, reductions from there, even going forward, because of our increase in enrollment at the elementary level, that's where you've seen like kindergarten as an example, where in the past we've many years had 2 kindergarten classes, say at Burrell and at Taylor, and we have 3. Right now, kindergarten registration's going on for those, and we're starting to see those numbers come in. So that enrollment at the elementary level is continuing to be consistent with what we've had this year, looking forward, as well as last year with those numbers. But having to shift based on what we have across the different schools. We do have really reasonable class sizes at the elementary level. At the middle school level, we've talked about as those move into grade 5 as an example, those class sizes are a little bit higher. Going with the second proposal, which is the current staff that we have in place now, it does not impact in a positive way the class sizes at the Ahern. Those are a little bit larger, but it does keep reasonable class sizes at the elementary level. And this is a slide to show you the elementary bubble that we had when it started to go down in years past, particularly back about 5-6 years ago, started to increase. But one of the things that we've talked about here too is the number of students that might move out, the students that are moving in, because it is more fluid than it has been in the past, say 5 years, definitely, and certainly for the last decade. The students that are moving in, the needs are more complex than many of the students that are moving out. So when we look at our special education percentages and our specialized programs, it's specifically, that's one of the pieces we're talking about where you're always a year behind when they're accounting for your Chapter 70 funding and looking at the needs and the complexity that's there. So special education, you can see on this slide here, particularly at the Burrell and the IGO, the percent that's increasing. We have at the elementary, our district-wide programs, specialized programs are across 3 schools, unlike the middle school where all of them for 5th through 8th are in one place. So each of those schools have specialized programs. The trend here at the Ahern, we're starting to see that increase because those increased numbers at the elementaries, they're starting to move towards the Ahern, and we anticipate to continue to see that trend. And then the high school, as I stated before, you see that it is being more of a reduction, and it's not because of students, as an example, moving out and going more to private schools. We don't see the numbers increasing there. If anything, some of those have actually decreased by slight numbers. We understand that families, for other reasons, would go, but we don't see that as an example of the decrease. It truly is the student population. So this particular slide is showing what we were not able to absorb within the recommended budget in order to, again, with the financial approach from the past, the middle school and the elementary counselor is not within this proposal too, and the other positions that you see were ones that we weren't even able to put within proposal 3 when we discussed that. They are needs. In order to move initiatives forward, when we think about science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM teacher, that was something that we had reduced our digital learning coach to repurpose that position based on the science curriculum review. But last year we weren't able to put that position in because of elementary enrollment, and we had to make those choices. The same holds true here. The grade 5 example that was given, special education, our preschool population and the needs are certainly more. They're higher, more complex when we look at our preschool population than looking at the alternative ed teacher at the high school when we're looking at meeting student needs, and then a facilities administrative assistant for our facilities department. Again, those were all items, if you will, that we're not able to absorb in the proposed budget.
On the Department of Ed, I'm just not going to spend a lot of time on here, but the Department of Ed has function codes for the expenditures for your budget. And really what these two slides were just to show that if you break down your budget by the Department of Ed function codes, the two sections which is the most direct correlation with students is instructional area and pupil services. And these two sections together are 83.01% of the overall budget, which they should be because we're here to instruct students. So that's just to show you that the big chunk of that pie that is just expenditures and salaries directly related to student services. For 28, this is one that we really, 28, go back to the 28 one. So this is really the picture of this budget. So here you see the major budget driver for this year's budget. As we break down payroll versus expenditures, payroll is 86% of this budget. Really difficult to keep at a low percentage increase when your budget is so high in salaries. Each year you have staff moving up the salary charts, unions with their COLAs, increases. The salaries take up a really large piece of this pie. On FY25, it was 84%, FY26, 85%, FY27, 86%, so it continues to increase. The other thing is that a large percentage of the union employees are at the top step of the salary chart. Wonderful for the district, it's wonderful for continuity for students, it's valued experience, but it does come with a cost. It's higher cost for that payroll for those at the higher steps. Unit A teachers are also 65% of the total staff, and 66% of those teachers are at top step. So wonderful you keep those teachers. It's just expensive in the budget for that. In slide 29, you can also see through the years here. You see FY24 to FY27, you can see the payroll continuing to take a larger piece of that pie. You see that gold is the payroll with 83.52%, 84.3, 84.9, 85.71. When you did that, 2 years in a row, your expenditures were negative, okay? Your salaries positive. So it's just starting to be more and more payroll in your pie, less and less expenditures, which is really difficult when you think about even in your own home. You've got inflation, you've got your food going up, utilities going up, everything's going up, technology. So it's difficult when your budget is really high in that percent of payroll. What else was I going to say?
That is a new slide that's there from the last presentation, so just wanted to take a moment and point that out because it was part of the discussion that you had talked about that was important to point out that when you have that big piece of the pie, that being salary, and it continues to increase over time, if you're having your overall budget that's only increasing by 3.25% or 3.5%, it makes it more problematic going forward.
Just to give you an example, so in FY26, the salaries were up 1.5 million, 27, 1.7 million. In FY26, the expenditures were down 29,000. In FY27, they're down 125,603. So at that point, you really have to start looking at, is there any way you can use your outside resources? Is there any areas that you can cut in your expenditure budget to be able to cover that? So it does become a more challenging budget to build when you have that really high significant payroll costs. In slide 30, these are all the available funding sources that you'll have each year. So you look at all these funding sources when you're building a budget. So you've got your Chapter 70 your revolving funds, your stabilization fund that we were lucky to get, the grants, your capital, your circuit breaker, and then on this one, we're just saying some of the emergency funds have gone away. Remember the newcomers, we had those funds. So again, that's just to show you what's going on with your funding sources. For 31, this is the circuit breaker through the years. So the circuit breaker is the state program that provides additional funds to districts to offset the cost of delivering the high cost of special education services to students. So you can see this is it through the years. Now you see it as it goes down a little there. Some of that has to do with transportation. There was some years that transportation was covered the full 75%. Because of time, I'm not going to go real into it. And other years, it is not able to be covered that full 75%. When they made the changes to increase transportation to the circuit breaker reimbursement, it just was that you have to fully fund the tuition, that full 75%, before you can hit transportation. So because it went down, could be because that was one of the years when the transportation was down in the 60s versus the 70s. So that's just to give you a little bit of slide of how that's going with that circuit breaker. 32 here. This, can you just do 32? This is the budget offsets. So these are the other areas that we use to build your budget. So you have revolving funds, you have grants, you have your circuit breaker, and we're lucky enough to have that special education stabilization fund. So this year we have added, we've used the outside resources almost 100,000 more. So we really try to utilize them more and more. Last year, you did use them a little bit more than the previous year as well. So that's something you do really look at when you're building your budget, and we certainly did this year. Again, now we're at the preliminary budget proposals, which were the three. But at the moment, the superintendent recommended budget is that proposal number 2, which is at that 3.68%.
Which is based on the conversation of school committee at the last meeting. Because it is your budget and based on all of those conversations at the subcommittee as well as the discussion last meeting.
If anybody has any questions, I try to hurry up and get done in time at 6:30 meeting.
Well, thank you very much. Joe, if you have a question, you can come up to the microphone.
Joe Garrity, 77 N. Carlian in Court. My question is, why are we going with Proposal 2 over Proposal 3? Is there an explanation why we're going with a level service budget instead of like adding guidance counselors and teachers?
So based on this evening's meeting, as well as all of the subcommittee meetings with school committee, and knowing that the town had put for the financial summit for us to come in at 3.25%. We're already going over what the town has recommended with the second proposal. So the needs are there with the third proposal, certainly, but we're also working the best that we can with a level service budget within the guidelines of what we see as level service, although it is above what the town has already directed at the financial summit, but they also said a level service. And so we're saying that this would be considered a level service to be able to continue with the programs and services we have for students currently. Otherwise, if we went with proposal 1, it would be cuts.
Like budget cuts, but we don't want that. It's what the town would like to go with. Any day they could go with Proposal 3, but it's what they can offer at that time, right?
And what they're saying as far as being able to be affordable and
Yep.
for our taxpayers.
Yeah, it's what the town can offer.
Yes. Thank
Yes.
you, Joe.
Thank you very much. All right. Would anyone else like to come up and ask any questions? We don't have a lot of community members here right now, but we appreciate everyone who is here, and I really appreciate all the effort and energy you continue to put into this budget, and all the work that you've done behind the scenes. And thank you very much to our budget subcommittee, Michelle and Nathan, for all the work you have done behind the scenes. At this point, I will entertain a motion to enter into open meeting if there are no other questions or comments.
So to close
We have
the
to
public
close
hearing.
the public hearing.
Yeah, oh, sorry, a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the FY27 public budget hearing.
I second. Go ahead, sorry. I second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? Great.
I make a motion to open the regular meeting for January 28th.
I second.
All right. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All right. All in favor? Thank you. So now welcome to the January 28th Foxborough School Committee regular meeting. We're going to just go right down the line, but first we're going to start out. Joey Garrity is going to lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, great. We're going to start out with open public comment. I don't see anyone signed up. Anyone would like to come up? I do not see anyone, so we're going to just move right along to the approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes here. The first is from December 10th, 2025, the executive session.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of executive session of the executive session of the Foxborough School Committee from December 10th, 2005, with the correction that Ehrman moved and Thaxton seconded.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Thank you very much. We're going to move along to the regular meeting minutes from December 10th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the School Committee of Town of Foxborough of December 10th, 2025.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, discussion, corrections? All right, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. We're going to move right along to the teaching and learning highlight. We have Mr. Stanton here from the Taylor School, and we have some pretty exciting news to share. It's becoming a habit.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I might be sitting here alone, but I am surrounded by what we call Tiger Nation, all the students, the staff, and the families as well. So I am very proud to share that Taylor School was named a 2025 Massachusetts Department of Education, Elementary and Secondary Education recipient of the School of Recognition. And this honor is bestowed to a small number of schools across the Commonwealth as part of DESE's annual accountability reporting system. Schools are selected because they demonstrate strong achievement, significant improvement, and/or high student growth in English language arts and math. Last week at the State House, Dr. Burdos and I were able to join 63 other schools. We were also joined by the Commissioner of Education and the Secretary of Education to receive this public honor. We were fortunate enough to have school committee member Mr. Nathan Ehrman joined us, and we were fortunate as well to have Representative Michael Chazon presented us with a certificate on behalf of the House of Representatives, as well as Senator Feeney with the state as well. So that was something that we were super proud to receive, and the teachers. So for me, as Dr. Burgess has shared in the past, when one school shines, we all shine. And this is representative of the district, what happens especially across our 3 elementary schools. We work so closely together, but I do want to take a moment to just really highlight that this achievement isn't about 1 year or one test. It's about the sustained effort that we've had and reflects the progress that we've made, the hard work of our teachers, the success that they've had, our students, obviously, and the families. We have worked incredibly hard to put structures in place that supports all students. We openly talk about barriers. We openly talk about our areas of growth. And so much of that comes from a place of looking at student data at Taylor School. We literally look at every single student's scores throughout the year. We have what's called data meetings. We are in the middle of those where we look at every single student's scores in literacy and math. We set individualized goals. Over the years, since this is my 6th year at Taylor School, I can tell you that coming off of COVID, it was my first year. Our test scores, even though we had tremendous support from the school committee, and I feel that we had a model during COVID that was the envy of many towns because our students didn't miss a day of school. We had 2 cohorts. We had students come in the morning and in the afternoon. And while we may not have seen the achievement results right away, I think what we did see was that social emotional part, that our students remained connected, and that's the strength of all of our schools, especially at Taylor School. So going back to that 2021, our results, I'll just give you one example. In math, we were at 31% of students meeting or exceeding on MCAS, with only 5% in the exceeding category. This past year, we had 86% of our students meeting or exceeding, with 30% exceeding. And so what we've worked very hard to do is not only talk about where our gaps are, but also the opportunities. Specifically, what we're really focusing on is, we call it holding that crown at achievement high above every child's head, having the expectation that every child can reach grade level learning standards with the appropriate supports. And that last part is very important to our success. We also believe that, and for me as a principal, I've learned over time that it's amazing what a child can do when just given the opportunity to shine. As you may know, that this is the third consecutive year that Taylor Schools received either a state or national recognition. In 2023, we were identified as a school of recognition by DESE. In 2024, the U.S. Department of Education, we were honored to be named a National Blue Ribbon School, and obviously this past year, 225 most recently. In Massachusetts, there's about 1,600 schools, including charter schools. There's only one school in the state that's received this recognition, this trifecta, in the past 3 years, the Taylor School. And for me, it really just speaks to what we're doing here. And I sit not only as the principal of the school, but as my colleagues. I have, the support of the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, Corey Michael-Azik, our director of student services, Danielle Morrissey at the IGO School, Robert Worth at the Burrow School, and really two superstars that don't get the spotlight a lot are Noelle Hendrickson and Kara McKinnon, our directors of curriculum. For example, Noelle was just at the Taylor School today modeling lessons and talking to the teachers. And that's the kind of professional development that we really try to embed, because it's actionable and it really impacts the students. And so for me, I couldn't be more proud of our students. They work hard, they take chances. We talk about perseverance, we talk about kindness, and we have a saying like, be that tiger at Taylor School. And what that encompasses is we talk about having safe bodies, safe hearts, have it to be a joyful place, because it's elementary school, it should be memories every day, but also that students are learning and they're engaged. And that falls on us as adults, that we look at what we can do. The staff at Taylor School, the teachers, the assistants are incredibly collaborative. We've worked hard over the years to look at the survey results that we pass out, the climate and culture. We look at the family responses, we look at the staff, and we see where we can improve things. For example, we've worked very hard to improve time for collaboration. So across all 3 elementary schools, the day starts with teachers meeting. At Taylor School, we've been able to create a master schedule where all the teachers have the same time off during the school day. And then our counselor, Mrs. Jones, and we lead something called Tiger Blocks, that we focus on sort of some SEL topics that we want to do as sort of smaller grade level assemblies in addition to our whole school assemblies. And while we're doing that, our teachers are meeting with our literacy specialists to talk about student learning, to talk about resources, to talk about instruction, and to share best practices. At the data meetings that we just had, we start off by talking about celebration. So I asked the teachers, I said, tell me a student or two who's in your heart that makes your heart happy, that you're super proud of. And so they share that, but what we add to that as well is, what is the practice or practices that has resulted in that growth? And I will tell you that most of it was the one word, relationships. And that's where it starts, is just having the students feel connected, that they are in a warm and loving environment. But that also we have such high standards in Foxborough that we've worked very hard. And once again, I thank this committee for the support that you have with the budget, for us to be able to purchase resources and materials that challenge all students, that are grade level content, and that allow us to sort of reach new heights of achievement. This most recent recognition, it's not a culmination, it's an inspiration to us. It sets the bar for us. We are very proud and we share it. Across, I have to thank the families of Taylor School as well, our PTO, and all of their efforts. They are so supportive. They're our partners, and they do the small and the big things for our school. They bring in enrichment opportunities. They provide us with different supplies and materials. And also, at the top of the list are our students. Our K-4 students, they bring joy to us every day. They work hard. I love visiting the classrooms, or if I'm in the lunchroom, and to see their joy and see their happiness. Fourth grade today, they were reading about fears, the fear factor, and analyzing a text. In kindergarten, they're focusing on different digraphs and blends. So for me, it's just to be able to walk around Taylor School, and I know that we're getting a new school. One of the things I'm going to ask the architect to work very hard at is to keep that small school feel. Because we have our challenges physically with Taylor School. We have balls that literally bounce off of classroom doors. We have lunch outside the other half of the school. But one of the joys is you get to see every single student and teacher every day. And it creates such a close-knit family that we truly know the students and the staff as well. And when I hire staff, I let them know that I say it half jokingly, but I know I'm serious as well. I want it all as a principal. I want someone who's talented, who's dedicated, who likes to laugh, be silly, and make memories for our students. And so for me, we didn't set out for any of these recognitions or accolades, and that's, I'm super proud of that too. This was just because of hard work, and someone saw what the teachers and the students and the families have accomplished. So just wanted to thank you very much and sort of celebrate Taylor School tonight.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm so excited. It's great to hear everything you have to say, and just it's so awesome. Anyone have anything they want to add? I know you're a proud Taylor parent.
Yeah, one of my favorite things, and you touched on it too, is the feeling of community with that small community of elementary school base that we have in Foxborough. And when you go in the school, it's like I feel like everyone in the staff knows all 272 kids, every single person, and right down to Miss Bayuk right there in the front. She knows everybody, and I think that overall feeling is a testament to some great work by the staff and the administration for the leadership of the school, and also the PTO helps with a lot of that. I'm always blown away at all the extras that these kids get that we certainly didn't get when I was at the table, but that was 100 years ago. So it was, even though the school looks the same.
Yes.
It won't for long.
Yes, I know. So really, really proud of you guys and how great everything is. And I think it's a good way to get the recognition for the hard work, because you feel it when you walk into the school.
Thank you.
It's great. Yeah, no, I couldn't be prouder. I mean, we all sit here as volunteers in this role, and it's oftentimes it's not easy. And when you come in and tell us the story, it's a good reminder of why we do this, why we're in this role, why we do this job that we do as volunteers. It just makes me so proud to be in this town. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and I was going to say thank you. I mean, you can just feel, sitting here, you can feel your passion behind what you do. So that's definitely a very special thing. So thank you for that, for your heart for the kids and for your passion, because sitting here, I can tell that it's very deep. So that's really special. So thank you.
I feel very blessed and lucky. I love being an elementary school principal, although I wore a vest today for the first time in years, and 2 kids told me I look like a waiter, and one said I look like a CEO. So I said it's sort of combine the two. It's sort of like a principal. I mean, that's sir.
Both are needed and great.
But for me, especially when I mentor new principals or even teachers that are coming into the profession, it's such a great place to work in any school. I've been blessed, and those of us that have been in multiple districts, that you're surrounded by children, you're surrounded by adults who care for children, and you want to do well. And at Foxborough, with the support of the town, the school committee, and the administration, it's a different level. I've never experienced this type of community. I've told people in the past, if I'd known how great Foxborough was, I would have moved here myself. My own kids could have benefited. So thank you for your support as well.
It's wonderful. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. We appreciate you, Mike. Thanks
Congrats
so
again.
much. Thank you. And congratulations. It's going to be a tough one to top, but now we have the superintendent update.
Just a few updates. One, Dr. Burrows and I were able to attend the Junior National Honor Society last week at the Ahern. The auditorium was packed. The students, they just looked awesome and so professional when they were inducted. And what struck me was when you hear, it was completely, this is the second year, so 3 years, the second year, and it was student-led. The students that led it did an amazing job. And listening to the profiles of each of the students as they were coming up to accept their certificate and walk across, you got to hear a little bit about them, what their interests were, and the amount of students that were really looking at just so goal-oriented, and to hear those goals, it was really fulfilling to hear that, and not from academic to other areas as well, but really the goals that they had set for themselves were they were quite impressive. And then the other piece that I thought was just wonderful was they are recognizing teachers who made a personal impact on them and had a shout out. And so many of our teachers, elementary teachers, even middle school teachers, that were there to see and to hear those personal shout outs to them. So it was just, it was awesome. And they just did such a tremendous job. Hard work to get there, but their presentation and everything they did to lead, that was wonderful. Congratulations to 5 of our high school students who on this past Saturday were selected for all state ensembles. I'm just going to read their names here. So Charlotte Bancroft, Jaden Harnett, Maya Kaiser, Caitlin Reel, and Samuel Wade. So congratulations to them. So just when we think about academics, we've got a lot to celebrate. And then just, the teaching and learning highlight, I think, was just, again, to try to top that's hard. But to hear about these kids, it just really kind of shows the gamut here. As far as upcoming events, as a reminder, we do have our 5th flu clinic. It's quite amazing to think that we have offered 5 different flu clinics. So really appreciative to our partners, our public health partners, to be able to host another one of those. It's not too late if you're interested in getting your flu shot. That is at the Ahern. It's tomorrow from 3 to 4:30. I had sent out a communication previously about registering for that. But again, that's tomorrow. Report cards for specialists in kindergarten are going out at the end of the week. We've started term 3, talking about kids with goals. Great time, particularly to set new goals as the new term starts. And then the only other thing that I would say really as a reminder, when we set the dates for school committee dates for our meetings, back at that time, I had let you know that I would not be able to be at the February 11th school committee meeting. Traditionally or historically, we have canceled that meeting many times because so much has happened in January. So it's more so that's up to you as far as that piece, but just wanted to remind the committee that I'm not able to be at that meeting. And if we did end up canceling it, I will just say that you'd be able to go to the high school and go to the Winter Jazz Vocal Concert, which is taking place that evening. So, but really more so a reminder, but also that we do have our Winter Jazz Vocal Fest taking place on that date at 7.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone? All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to move right along again to the school committee student representative report. We have Yasmin and Stevie.
So we only have a few things today. The town scholarship application deadlines are coming up very quickly. They're in 2 weeks. Anyone who's going to be applying for that, any of the seniors are, there's a link in the class of 2026 Teams page that tells you how to sign up and fill out that application. So, yeah.
And we have 12 more school days until February break.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We missed both of you last meeting, so nice to see you back again. All right, so we'd like to call up Dr. Donovan here. He's going to discuss the proposed Foxborough High School program of studies. Welcome.
Good evening. In the packet was a recommendation for changes to the high school program of studies. They are pretty straightforward. The medical interventions course is the second Project Lead the Way science course in a sequence that we hope will be 3 courses. And it was part of our science curriculum review plan. So this is the continuation of that sequence. The same is true for the Project Lead the Way capstone course. That was also part of the sequence that comes at the end of the engineering sequence of courses which we've laid out over the last couple of years, and would also serve the kids in the biomedical pathways course. The 2 music courses, the applied musicianship is essentially a music theory course. It was formerly a full-year course, and we had to stop running it. It used to run with very low numbers of kids, somewhere plus or minus 5 students a year. We stopped running it because there just weren't enough kids to take the course, and also students were having more difficulty getting into the courses just based on their current load of schedule. So this is a half-year course. It certainly won't cover all of what was there before, but we're hoping that students will be able to access this important curriculum, and we'll do so in a way that fits, likely opposite PE in junior or senior year as a half-year course. One of our goals that came out of the music curriculum review was also to have more electives at the high school, because we really don't have many. We have a piano class and a guitar class. So this is a pretty standard music history course. It's a survey course open to all students. And then the final course that's in the packet is really just simply renaming. So it was formerly called American Literature and Media, and with the curriculum reviews, or with the curriculum updates, they just wanted a name that more closely reflected the actual course. So that's where fiction, nonfiction, and media as a course name comes in. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about those courses.
I think it all seems pretty straightforward. Anyone have any questions or comments on this? Thank you, as always, for your thoughtfulness. I will entertain a motion, as we do need to vote on this.
I make a motion that we add the proposed Foxborough High School programs of studies as presented here by Dr. Donovan.
I second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion on this? All right, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right. We are going to go right along. We're going to go back to Dr. Burdos and Ms. Sheridan, where they are going to talk to us about a little bit about the FY27 budget, and then school committee. We have the action to discuss and approve.
So where we had the budget hearing prior to this meeting, it was redundant again, as we had said. Okay. But by policy, we need the budget to be voted at this meeting. So unless there's other questions, we would be asking for a vote on the approval of the FY27 budget as presented at the last meeting, and then as the superintendent's recommendation, which would be proposal number 2, and that amount.
I was just getting,
yes,
because we have to be specific on our vote
45,168,056.
Any discussion on this before we actually make a motion and vote? Anyone have any questions or comments on this? I know we've talked about it, and it is a little bit redundant with the budget hearing, but, I certainly I don't want to pressure anyone to say it, but if anyone had any questions or comments, we're open.
I mean, I think it was a tall task with the edict that the town gave us with 3 1/4. And I was just thinking about like the math as it was going through with between inflation for how much things cost in general, like everything costs more now. And then when you couple that with like the COLA raises and the step raises from the contracts and stuff, that seems to, those are basically like close to 3% anyway. So it's like, it doesn't give a whole lot of room for the increase in cost for it. I want to say, great job by the budget committee and Ms. Sharon and your team with working your best and providing those 3 options for it, because it's definitely not easy with those multiple options. And the first option being there, where you tried your best to meet what the team was meeting, what the town had requested, and what it would have led to. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I do just want to single you out and say I really, truly appreciate from where I sit, and I don't know, I'm sure the committee would agree, that it's great, your thoroughness and how you explained everything out, and how you just took time to be so mindful and really walk us through this. So I do appreciate it. I personally, and I just will speak for myself, as much as we are doing our best to be in line with the town. I personally wouldn't feel right about voting on a budget that would make any kind of cuts, so I appreciate your thoughtfulness in really describing the three different options. And so thank you very much. I do appreciate that, and I know it represents a lot of time, effort, and energy on your part. So, all right. Unless there's anything else, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the FY27 budget in the amount of $45,168,056.
I second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All right, all in favor? That would be 500. Thank you again, everyone. We appreciate it. All right, so we're going to move along again to the approval of the FY27 capital improvement plan, again, that we discussed at the last meeting. So I'll give it to you both to take it away.
Yes, so just as a reminder for people that may not have tuned in, we can just give the highlights of for the FY27.
You do have the slides. I think they
Yes.
start at 39. There you go.
So for FY27.
27. So for transportation, as we indicated, we're requesting 1 minibus and 2 77-passenger buses. It's in line with how the district handles the buses. The replacement factor, they consider is 10 years, 100,000 miles, as well as the conditions of the vehicles. We did have discussions with the DPW and the mechanic, Chris Gallagher, and his mechanic, Adam. So they agreed that we do this year need the 2 77-passenger buses and the minibus. So that's the first one, which is $519,128 for transportation capital request. You want to go to the next slide? The copy machines. So the copy machines, the replacement factor is considered is every 3 to 4 years replacement. We consider the conditions of the machines, how many copies each one has. We are starting to transition to leasing, 3 years. That's going to be over time as the machines kind of get old and we start to revamp them to leasing. We did add 5%. You've had 40,000 for the capital for copy machines for quite a few years, so we did add 5% for inflation on that. So for FY27 copy machines, we're asking for 42,000. For the technology, the town supports an annual replacement budget for school district to maintain its technology infrastructure, software, technology hardware, equipment, as well as the one-to-one computer environment. In FY27, this is the highest number of student computers we'll need to replace for these years, for this particular year, and going forward. For 27, we also have in this ask for technology, high school digital art lab refresh, as well as high school touchscreens to replace classroom projectors. We've been replacing those old classroom projectors, and we did a lot in FY25 at year end, but the high school still needs some that had to replace. So for the technology ask for FY27, it's $419,600. The next one is other equipment requests for 27. So for 27, Ahern Middle School is asking for phase 2 of their library refresh, and that is going to have some new furniture. We did go over, there's some nice pictures of the way the furniture is going to be. For the replacement, the middle school auditorium curtains, the high school gym divider curtain, and the high school gym PA system, $47,827 is in this ask. High school classroom furniture. This is a continuation of the cycle of replacement for the high school. And this is to have more flexible seating in the classrooms. The furniture is about 30 years old. Some of the kids cannot even fit into the desks. So that's about $30,000 for that request. And the total for FY27 for other equipment is $110,827. Major repairs. The first request is The high school replacement of interior doors and hardware for the boys and girls gymnasiums. The doors from the lobby to the gym appears to be becoming a little bit of a safety issue, so they would like those replaced. That's $28,000. The high school turf field. It was installed in 213. It's 10 to 20 years is the recommended replacement. 27 would be at 14 years. Their warranty life is already over. That was at 10 years. And according to what I've been told, it's getting a little near that time where it really needs to be replaced. When you go to patch it, a little bit of difficulty. You have to get your lawnmower out to get those patches to meet the rest of the turf field. That's a big hit. It's $905,000. So the total major repairs is $933,000 for FY27. Building renovation. So that's the Taylor. The yeehaw, we got the Taylor. So that's the MSBA project for the Taylor for FY27. It would be the preliminary cost for the architecture, owners, project manager, and the estimate on renovation and expansion costs. The source of the $1 million for FY27 is not free cash. It's going to be the balance of the borough and the DPW projects, but it still has to be part of your capital request. So that's why that is on there. And then the final one is field renovation. The DPW has requested we put this on here on the Stather Field behind the Ahern. It's about a $30,000 request for that, and the DPW feels that needs a little bit of work on that field. So the total FY27 capital improvement would be $3,054,555. Did you want me to go over this as well? The changes in, this is where we kind of went over the last meeting. If you subtract out the Taylor School and you subtract out the turf field, which are the major hits in this particular capital improvement plan, the increase over the previous year is $375,555, which is 66% of that is the buses, which are increasing in cost, unfortunately. And then 19% is the technology increase due to inflation and student needs. And then the 8% is that Stather Field. So it's not a huge increase over last year if you take out those two hits of the almost $1 million for each of those.
Again, thank you for your thoughtfulness and the effort you put into this. Really is evident in the presentation. Thank you.
Are the two buses going to have to be every year? Like every year, it's going to have to be two buses.
Yes.
Is it a mini bus as well every year, or is that like in every other? Or?
It's laid out on the 5-year plan. If you look, you can see where the minibus falls in, and sometimes it's the wheelchair. It's always two large buses, but it's not always a minibus.
Yep. And then the other thing was the the staff technology update is in the coming years. What year is that one? Because that was the big number, right?
The student on the technology is not, the teacher computer replacement not till 29.
Okay.
So that's the bigger hit. You're not only replacing some of your student devices, but you also have to replace your teacher devices. And in talking with Chris Gallagher and his mechanic, so we do have a good conversation before we do this capital plan with the buses. So if there are years that they do not feel that we need to replace a minibus, then we certainly can change it going forward. This year, they do feel that they need to do that.
And then the laptop piece is an example that's replacing in order to keep up. By going 1-to-1 during COVID, and you had all of them, then Aaron has done, a fantastic job of rebuilding as much as he can, but at the same time, it's an elementary grade, a middle school grade, and a high school grade. So 11th graders just got new laptops. And so being able to replenish those on a cycle, but it's a cycle where it's one grade level per level.
So it's fair to say that because it sometimes is hard to look out 5 years. So it's fair to say let's say we approve this as it is tonight. It's fair to say that it is subject to change as years come, to Karen's point, with needs, and there may be things that are taken off, there may be things that are added.
Yeah.
So there is some room here.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that everything's going to be able to be funded once we go to CIP. It depends on what funds are available and other priorities from the town.
We definitely review the CIP every year to see if because there was a little tweaking from when we did the 5-year last year. So you look at your priorities, and sometimes, they rise to the top when something, unfortunately,
Has to take a hit.
So they definitely, from after 28, 29, 30, 31, it's definitely room for change if that happens.
Yeah. So like one of the discussions was looking at the turf field. Could we push that out one more year? Not really. We're based on the lifespan and the use that it gets, and the warranty not being on it, you're pushing it out more is problematic in other areas.
And the cost, that's going to go up too.
Oh, yeah.
Significantly.
It's not going to go down.
Right, it's not going down.
Right. You're right.
But a lot of discussion on each of those items and thinking like what can be pushed out, even with the technology, and thinking about what within the what's already been done. But we're presenting to you what the needs are, but understanding that once we go to CIP, it doesn't mean it'll all be funded, but these are our needs.
Any further questions or comments on this? I will entertain a motion if the committee so chooses.
I make a motion to approve the FY27 capital improvement plan in the amount of $3,054,555.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? All right. Again, thank you very much for all the work that went into this. It was much appreciated. Now we're going to hear from Dr. Burrows on the community update, the community report.
Okay, so I hope you have a color copy in your packet. Do you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is our annual community report. I am presenting it to you for feedback. As you know, this report is mailed out to every town resident each year, right around this time. A couple of the things that I have been adding to this report over the course of the last few years. I have added QR codes. This year, the QR code, QR code that I'd like for you to test out right now on your phones is the one on the first page, making sure that you can access the new strategic plan flip book. That should bring you right out to the flip book. I know it works on my phone, but it's my account, so I don't know if it's going to work on everybody's phone. I want to make sure that it does. It looks like it does.
Perfect. Oh, I love how it flips the pages, too.
Yes,
It's cute.
yes, even on your phone.
Yes.
That was high risk.
It was. It was. Phew. So, and then the other...
You didn't plan that ahead of time.
The other QR code on the next page is just kindergarten registration. We made the decision a few years back just to make sure that that was on there. We've also added that to, I think we've added that to another item that we mail out as well to families, just to make it easier for families to register their children for kindergarten. A couple of the other items. I started adding this last year, and I really love it. We pulled the quotes from the Culture and Climate Survey, pulled a couple of quotes, some from teachers, some from students, and some from parents in the community. So you'll notice there are a couple of quotes throughout that are actually from this year's Culture and Climate Survey. So those are throughout. On the second page of the report, there's a couple of data points that are consistent with things that we've reported out on in the past. There's a nice summary of things that are happening at the high school, at the middle school, and at our elementary schools. I did place an emphasis on Project Lead the Way and STEM opportunities. It's something that's come up in the past with this committee, and I felt like that was important to note. And I, of course, did in the bottom of the third page, I highlighted some of the Taylor School's achievements as well, and put in a data table there as well. On the final page is also our recent college acceptances from our class of 2025. So if you've had a chance to read through it and you have any feedback now, I'm happy to take notes. If you've not had a chance to read through it and you'd like to email me any questions or any feedback that comes up over the course of the next week or two, we will be mailing this out sometime early February. Actually, that's next week, mid-February.
Time is a thief.
Oh, the other thing that would be helpful to check is please make sure your names are spelled right.
We're on here.
I was personally very excited to see with our list of graduates and where they were attending, my alma mater of Texas A&M University.
I know.
Our valedictorian from last year going there.
I know. That's kind of exciting. Thank you very much. This represents, again, a lot of hard work, a lot of time, effort, and energy, and a lot of thoughtfulness. I always say to Stephanie, you're my lovely data nerd. I love how you sprinkled it out in such a nice way so people could see some of the results, and it came from a lot of different areas. All your information, you put it so nicely there, but it came from a lot of different areas, and you used that survey. So thank you very much.
I try to make the nerdy stuff digestible by putting the pictures around there and telling a story as well.
It drives it home. You know what I mean? It drives it
does.
home. Tells a story. I like it. Thank you.
The quotes from the Culture and Climate Survey are actually now my favorite part. I don't remember how I came up with that idea last year, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love adding them.
Me too.
I hope people recognize
know.
their quotes from their student or from themselves in there,
goes
because
to
we
show,
read through every comment.
Yes,
we really
it goes to show and illustrate the point that everything is read and we pay attention to everything. So when you get those surveys, it's not just going into the abyss. You're really actually looking at it and paying attention. That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
She's also very tech savvy and good to have around.
I know. It's, yeah.
I have a lot of fun with the design.
I like the emphasis with the Project Lead the Way, because that's sort of showing the rest of the community that, like, the school system is listening, and we're trying to, like, not only just, like, educate the kids from, like, a book learning standpoint, we want to give them useful skills for the future. And I think that that's a very important part. We're trying to make stuff applicable. And I was thinking the same thing when Dr. Donovan was going over some of the electives, where it's got that emphasis on things that they'll actually use when they're outside of school or beyond that. So, and plus I see two of my captains here with the Unified School Champions, so proud of them.
I love that picture.
Yeah.
All right. Any further questions or comments on this? Again, thank you so much. Your effort is appreciated. I think it looks great.
Yeah, looks great.
Okay, we're going to go right back to Ms. Sheridan. We've got revised Foxborough Public School use of school facility guidelines that we just have some action on. So why don't you explain that to us?
So as we discussed at the last school committee meeting, we revamped the rates for the rental of facilities. And although we did review all the surrounding towns and looked at all their rates, as we started to work on doing the invoices for our renters, we felt like it was a little too much of a hit for them, and we felt like maybe we need to do it a little bit more incrementally to get up to around the surrounding towns. So we recommend lowering these rates, but we do also recommend that we're going to be reevaluating this every year because when we did look at the surrounding towns, we are low, but it was just a little bit too much of a hit for the first year. Again, this has been over a decade since they have been changed. We have a new rate sheet in your packet. We highlighted in a different color the different changes that we have made. The superintendent, myself, and Caroline all sat down to see if we could come up with something that was a little less of a hit to our rentals for this first year of the change. But then again, we would like to be able to review this every year and reevaluate going forward. So that's what we have right now. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but again, as we started to do the invoicing, we just felt it was a little bit too much of a hit for the first change in the rates in over a decade.
Well, I appreciate your thoughtfulness and the fact that you came back to us with this. It says a lot about Foxborough again, and how thoughtful we are, and how much we care about who's here and who's using our facilities. And, you know, it's life. I think we're all happy to be supportive and make sure that we can continue making everyone happy, you know. So
the new rates are here. We did, like I said, we did a lot of invoicing to see how to revamp these, so that wasn't such a huge hit. So again, we'll be reviewing it every year to make sure that we stay in line and not have that big jump on.
thank you, and thank you, Caroline Clark, who didn't come.
Who did a lot of work.
She stayed at that last meeting so long. And Caroline Clark and you and your team did so much work, so we do appreciate all the efforts on that. Anyone else have any questions or comments on this? Excuse me. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the revised Foxborough Public School use of school facility guidelines as presented here.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, we're going to move right along to the approval of the 2026-2027 school calendar. So for next year. We have two versions here. Dr. Burdos, why don't you talk to us about this?
So the version that was presented along with the discussion at the last meeting was to begin school before Labor Day, because Labor Day falls really late. So 6 years ago when this happened, that's what we did. Otherwise, once you pull weather days like we had on Monday, it starts to push it out really far. So from our FEA as well as our administration, the recommendation is to start before Labor Day. The other recommended change to the calendar would be to not have 3 professional development days in August, would be to move one of those to where it's more evenly dispersed throughout the calendar year, and to move one to January. We did have one in January 3 years ago, but we moved that from January to March. It's worked out really well for the last 3 years to have that in March. But to have 3 in August, we are proposing to move one of those days from August to January, however, to have it at the end of the break, so the holiday break. So instead of students returning on that Monday, they would return on the Tuesday, and staff would have a professional development day on the 4th. The idea, dispersing it throughout the calendar year to where, when we think about professional growth and teaching and learning, then you have those opportunities more throughout the year. At the same time, trying not to have it impact families as much to where it's disrupting more time. And that was the idea of having it after the long break. So I'm sure that there's some discussion there as far as from the last meeting. That was the rationale for that. And then the other one, as far as the proposal and the reason you have 2 versions before you tonight, would be the kindergarten change. And the kindergarten change, we have kindergarten screening that takes place in the month of May. What happens during that time is classroom teachers are pulled out of their classrooms in May. And if we're able to get subs, there's a sub in the classroom with the educational assistant, because we're fortunate to have full-time educational assistants in our kindergarten classrooms. But they are pulled out for 3 full days, and I think it might be 4 days at the IGO, just based on the size, for kindergarten screening. And having kindergarten screening in June versus having it in May it would be two things. One, you wouldn't disrupt the classroom instruction in May by having subs in the classroom, because you would then have screening in June, but that would have kindergarten ending earlier. So they would end based on this schedule, if you had no weather days or snow, Friday the 11th, where school for everyone else would end the following week. The other piece to that is we would have at the beginning of the year, if that were the approved calendar, in kindergarten didn't end early, they would start with everyone else on the first day of school. Currently, and has been, this is my 15th year here, so all of this time, we always, during my time, I'm not sure before that, it's been kindergarten doesn't start on the first day with everyone, full day. They start, they come in, they have an orientation, they do a bus ride, and they go home. That part can be challenging. You might think that's great, they're only here in a little bit, but the challenging part is for schools, and that you've got this disruption. You've got everyone coming in, they're not starting the full day with the rest of their peers. You've got a lot of parents that are there that are coming in and out, and you're trying to get the full day going with all of your students there at the same time. So there's pros and cons, certainly. But those are the reasons that you have two proposals before you, and kind of the rationale behind. So I'm imagining you probably had some conversations in the last couple of weeks, and any questions that we can answer about them.
I'm looking at version 1 and version 2. Where are the actual changes? I'm sorry.
Version 1, you'll notice on September 1st.
Okay.
It's the first day of school for everyone on version 2.
Gotcha.
But on version 1, it would be like what has been historically, just grades 1 through 12.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you. All right.
And all those days have stayed consistent from this year, right? Like the amount of the screening days, personal development days, all of the, nothing has been increased. Those are all same. It's just moving of days.
Good question. So students have 180 days. Teachers have 185 days because of the 5 professional development days. The 3 in August, the 1 in October, unless it's an election year, and then it's November, and then the 1 in March. This would take 2 days in August, 1 in October before the Indigenous People long weekend, and then would move 1 to January following the winter holiday break, and then the 1 in March.
I mean, from my own thoughts when I was looking through it, and I know you addressed it with the professional development on Monday the 4th. I mean, I know I'm just thinking from a parent point of view, it's like, oh, that's a long break, and then coming in for it. But I get the idea with the sort of having more impact with the professional development over the course and spreading it out through there. Plus, I mean, who knows? It might allow some parents to get cheaper flights if they travel that weekend. They can book on a Monday.
Didn't think about that, but could be.
Yeah. The kindergarten thing, I personally, speaking, my kids are first grade and second grade. I look at the kindergarten side of it, and I understand where it's coming from with moving the days, but just as a parent, there wasn't just as much disruption to my life as a parent when the kindergarten screening was in May, and because we knew where our kids were going to be, and our kids were going to be safe for it and everything. Whereas if you move it to the end of the year, then now obviously all the kindergartners, now you have to some sort of arrangement for childcare for that for an extra week that you might not have had to make in the past. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm just thinking from like the parents, like work-life balance and everything else, where I think version 1's the more appealing version to me myself.
So after last meeting, I spoke with the rec department to just kind of talk to them about the calendars to make sure that they're in the loop. And they're working on, if whichever calendar version we do approve, having some sort of programming for that January 4th Professional Development Day, as well as if we choose to move up kindergarten's last day to the 11th, that week after, they're looking at ways to add some programming.
It's good to know that they're there to help with it.
Yes. There are other resources in the town, obviously, but you're making a very fair point about, it's just one more thing to think about. So I do understand that. It's a tricky one, and we are tasked with action on this evening. So, anyone else have anything that they want to weigh in on regarding this calendar and any of these changes?
Just before, just in case it's helpful, other things that people have asked that I've conversations, what happens with kindergarten at the end of the school year? Would they miss their field days? Would they miss those things? The answer to that is no. They wouldn't miss any of those events that are so looked forward to, so that wouldn't happen. The other thing that could be really great is that the principals have talked about being able to do other types of orientation that are longer than that quick on the first day of school where they're coming in and it's the first day for everyone and it's more intentional. So it could be potentially like on one of those August PD days where they're coming in that day, so they're getting that acclimation to the building beforehand. So when they do come on the first day with everyone else, if they have siblings, they're with their siblings. It's everyone in the building at the same time for the full day. So they wouldn't miss out on some of the things that they have had in the past. So I just wanted to make that note too, that those would be planned out as well.
That's a good point.
And it could be something too where, depending on the will of the committee, you look at it and say, we're willing to pilot it for a year and to see how it goes for 1 year and get feedback and then come back and revisit it. That's another option. As far as the point of being the action required, the question might be, well, if we don't vote the calendar tonight, what implications does that have? By having the calendar and the dates, to be perfectly honest, it's about the term dates and course selection at the secondary level. So we need the term dates that are there to be able, when they start course selection in February, to build that within Power School and all of the, the technology pieces behind it.
So we've never done this in the past, right? As far as moving the screening, it's always been like this? From what you know.
From what I know, that's when it's been in May and having teachers out of the classroom. So having it in the spring, and there's some conversation. Well, what if you had it? There's some school systems that don't have kindergarten come the first week of school or the first 3 days. They do their screening in the fall, and the kindergarten might start 3 or 4 days later. When we look at kindergarten screening, it's for us to prepare for the students that are coming to us. It's not because you're not ready for kindergarten. It's about how can we best prepare. So having it in the spring, in May or June, it allows us to be able to, we still have kids that move in and we still screen those that do, but you get the bulk of the students and are able to start preparing for those kids and class placements and those kinds of things.
I mean, I was going to say it, I was going to be my question, but you beat me to it. Personally, I like the idea of giving it a try, see if it works, trying something new. There's always, I think the first thing, and I can speak for myself on this too, people don't like change. That's one thing automatically. But I think that, when I was in school here, our 8th grades got moved to the high school, and that was changed, and it was different. And it ended up being, for some people, a great thing. So I think trying it out, seeing, if it works, and doing a cost-benefit analysis of it is important. I think that's how you grow, by learning and changing, trying new things, and seeing what does work out and what doesn't. But giving the flexibility to say, okay, we tried it, it worked great, or we tried it, it didn't, and there's going to be a calendar the next year.
Yeah, I recognize
My
that
2 cents.
too, with my thought process for it, where it's people are naturally hesitant for a change for
Totally.
it. So I was thinking about that, and when I was thinking about as I was forming my opinion, I'm like, is this why? And I'm just in terms of the impact, and obviously this is just anecdotal because I'm just speaking from my personal thing, but I've had a kindergartner for the last 2 years, and I remember the impact from those screening days was I didn't even know when they were, yes, last year, but the year before, only reason I knew was because I had an upcoming kindergartner for it. And I think it was like, they do a good job getting volunteers, because you mentioned subs can be an issue with that sometimes. And I mean, the only way I would have known is they were like, Sally's mom came in and was with us for a few hours today, and so something along those lines. But as I was thinking about it, but I just think that, just the impact for the parents, and even though the rec is doing a good job with it, I was just thinking that when my kid was in kindergarten, I would rather have them just been in school and have the screening happen while they were there than have them out like a week earlier before everybody else, especially with, if they have older siblings, the other kids will still be going to school for the next few days after that, with explaining to your kindergartner, well, you're all done, so, and then creates that disillusion for it. But I certainly understand the willingness to want to try new things.
All right. Well, I agree with all the lenses that everyone's looked through. Just for clarification, at the very beginning, I think you had said you had shown the calendars to the Foxborough Education Association, and which they
Starting before Labor Day.
before Labor Day is
And
what they win it.
Yes, and the professional development day moving out of August and moving to the January.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so they are in favor of that.
Yes.
All right. Keeping in mind everything, I mean, it's really up to the committee, but keeping everything that we've learned in mind, if we pilot it for 1 year, next year, 26 to 27, just like this year, there was some term things and some things that came up, and we'd always pivot. We can always have another conversation, just like the fee schedule, if something needs to be changed, or after you know what I mean? But it really is up to the committee. But if we wanted to try it out, keeping in mind that as far as for the streamline of the teaching and learning, and the teachers feel like it would be the right choice, I don't think I'd have a problem endorsing trying it out and piloting it to see how it looked. But that's just my opinion on this. So really is up to the committee.
So are we doing two different votes?
No.
for this?
No, you
Or
would
just
vote-
one? We're just going
you
to pick
would
one,
just-
so we're not going to
yes.
choose
One.
two different issues. Gotcha.
Yes. So just to be clear, we're looking, you're looking, right now, the ideal would be the version 2, as far as the version with the last day of
Version 2 would be 2 professional development days in August.
Okay.
All students start on September 1st.
Okay.
Professional development day for teachers and staff on January 4th. The Monday extending for students, families, an additional day in January, with the end of school without the cancellation days, the last day of school being June 17th, but June 11th for kindergarten.
Okay. Thank you.
And that is without building in it shows the dates that it would be.
Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion if anyone would like to make one. Or
I make a motion to approve version 2 of the Foxborough Public School 2026-2027 school calendar as presented today.
I second.
any further questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Duly noted. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're going to give this a try for next year. And thank you for the discussion. I appreciate it. All right. We're going to move on to the acceptance of donations. Ms. Sheridan.
So I have one donation for tonight, kind of interesting as I read it. So Tuesdays at the middle school, 30 to 40 students stay after school to play spike ball. And the Partners in Patriotism Fund has donated $301.75 to purchase 6 new spike ball sets to accommodate more students to be able to play spike ball. So the donation is from Partners in Patriotism Fund, $301.75.
That's so fun.
Ball is.
It's like it looks like a little net, and you throw the ball and it bounces out. It's so cute. And that's
cool.
Mr. Boogan started it when he first started here, and both my boys were at the middle school, and they both did this. And it's a true testament to Mr. Boogan because he just gets kids, they want to be part of what he's doing. So anything that he starts at the Ahern, it either starts and grows, or he takes something that's already been established and gets kids to do things. Like when he took over the cross country, when they pretty much said like, hey, we need you to do this, and he didn't want to say no, and he's like, okay. I want to say 3 times more kids showed up and ran cross country, like kids who are like, I hate running, but I want to run with Mr. Boogan. So I think this is awesome that he applied for this, and the amount of kids that do go out, and I will tell you the damage that they make. They take this spike ball on Tuesdays like, it's like their March Madness, like it's crazy. So I definitely think some of these in the past 3 years have been totally destroyed, where he probably needs them all replaced because there's that many kids that do it. It's great.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of kids.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the Patriots and Patriotism spike ball club sets for the Ahern Middle School on Tuesdays for $301.75.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor? Thank you so much. We accept that with lots of gratitude and so much excitement and energy. That's awesome. Thanks for your share. Now, community update. We're going to start with Allison.
Yeah, I actually had to screenshot it from my phone so I don't mess it up. I had the amazing opportunity right before all of the Junior National Honor Society members were inducted last Thursday. I was invited to speak to them on behalf of the Foxborough Warrior Fund, because this week, till the 30th, so the 26th through the 30th, so it's already started, the Ahern Middle School every year does what they call the Penny Wars, and it's by grade, and I think this year the winning grade gets to pick a movie of their choice to be able to watch. And this year they're donating all their funds to the Foxborough Warrior Fund. So they invited me there to speak about the fund, and I was so impressed, like you were saying, about the amount of kids that were inducted this year. And I think one of the amazing things for me was I shared about why the Foxborough Warrior Fund was started and funded, but didn't really go into John and I's story a lot. Like, didn't go in deep, just very high level. And I was so impressed with the amount of kids after I was done that came over and shared their personal stories of cancer with me. I mean, the kids were in tears. It was absolutely moving. And I was like, these kids are in 7th and 8th grade, and they are that confident to come up to a stranger. I mean, I know some of them know me through my children, but they don't know me. And it was amazing at how they just came up and shared their stories, and it was just so impactful. So I was so honored that I was invited to speak, but I think it is a true example of what we're doing in our school systems that are giving these kids the confidence to have hard conversations with, people that they know that do care. So for me, that was such a moving piece to be able to be there, and I was so impressed with a lot of the students in the room that day. So it's a true example to what, again, the Ahern is doing and other schools are doing, but really bringing the kids together, and just like the principal from the Taylor said, showing love and compassion, and I think that is definitely part of the learning experience. So it was awesome, and I'm so grateful that they're donating their funds to the Foxborough Warrior Fund. So it was amazing.
Well, thank you for being there. That's
it was
amazing.
great.
You're amazing.
And I'm glad it was on there, because I totally forgot, and I'm searching my phone like, oh my gosh, where is it? I got to make sure I make the announcement for it. So if you do have kids that are in the Ahern, or if anyone reaches out to you, it's a it's a good cause, and it's just a great thing that they're doing through the Junior National Honor Society.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for your share.
Yes. I actually had something to share this week.
Yay! Michelle.
Just a reminder that on March 4th, CPAC will be doing their 4th annual community resource fair. They'll be doing that at the Ahern, and also that's in conjunction with the Mansfield CPAC, and they're also going to have a social get-together on March 22nd at North Lane Bowling, again with the Mansfield CPAC. So if anybody's interested, please watch for information. They'll be coming out soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Great.
I actually do have an update, so I'd actually like to shout out Joe. He was at the select board meeting last week and presented about the upcoming Cleanup Foxborough Day, which is on April 11th. So it's a great time to come volunteer, get those community hours in, and join the community in a great event.
Yep, and then when it gets closer to the event, registration will be online. I meant to add that last week at the meeting, which I didn't, but I just wanted to let the public know it's Saturday, April 11th. Every year gets better and better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank the DPW for their hard work on getting the streets and the sidewalks. They were pulling like 30, 40-hour shifts with minimal sleep for it, and sometimes that stuff goes unappreciated, so I want to let them know it was appreciated. And the other thing is with the snowbanks in my neighborhood are gigantic.
Yeah.
And they're not going anywhere with this new snow that's coming Sunday as well. And because my kids are 6 and 8, it's the first time they've really experienced like major snowstorms. So what we're doing is we're sort of reviewing snow safety with the kids and everything else. They have to be sort of aware, especially at the bus stop. Luckily, my neighborhood's not busy, but some of the busier places, it's like, well, you gotta be a little different. You gotta be more cautious with these snowbanks and everything else at the bus stop and the sidewalks. Like sometimes you got to walk on some snow, buddy. Like that just happens. All right, that's what you got your boots for.
It's a great reminder. Thank you, Pat. That's actually a really great reminder for the community to review. I was pulling out of my driveway, and the snowbank was so high, and just
huge.
there's no visibility. You forget that with the kids walking, they have to be mindful of that too. Thank you.
I echo your gratitude and have extended that myself. I was over at DPW today in person to again thank them, and as well as all of our facilities guys and gals as far as what they've done with the schools to be
Shoveling,
here.
yeah.
The amount of work and just talking with them, like they forgot from 4 or 5 years ago the last time we had this much snow and how much it took. And they were here really, really, really early. So under Tony and Carl's guidance and as their work too. So yes, thank you for that. I echo those sentiments and really appreciate the reminder on the safety piece. I'll add, sure is nice when you drive around and you see some of the snowmen and you see the kids getting out. So I think that that's really nice too, to be able to bundle up, be out there dressed appropriately. But if they're able to get out and do things like snowmen and be off of devices and get back to
sledding.
some of that and
Yeah.
sledding, which I think is great. So
Yeah.
Wow, my kids were outside for like 6 hours on Monday. It was
I
great.
bet they slept well.
Oh, yeah, they did. That they did.
For sure. Dr. Burrows.
I do not have anything.
I also want to thank the custodians, Carl, Tony, and also transportation, because they're out there shoveling and plowing all those buses. So a lot of hard work for a lot of our staff out there in that cold
Yes.
to get us to school. So thank you to all of them.
Absolutely. Totally. So I went sledding at the Ahern, and there were hundreds of kids.
It's a place to be when it snows.
I know, but I do have a share, and I don't know if you can zoom in, but I'd like to thank the Borough Preschool. My grandnephew had his first day of school. Great job, Enzo. And the teachers and the staff and everyone. I've never experienced drop off and pick up, but wow, they have a well-oiled machine there, beautiful facility. The teachers, everybody was smiling. Great, wonderful, happy to echo what Mike said. Just really happy environment there at the Borough Preschool. Couldn't have been a better first day. And, he had a lot of fun and went right off. No tears, nothing but smiles. So Thank you to the Foxborough teachers at the preschool. So that's it. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if anyone doesn't have anything else.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Good night, everyone. Thank you. What?
Did I press the right button?
I don't know. If it beeped, you did.
I didn't see any lights go on.
That's all right.
Oh.